Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is when you're watching this. This is Jerry with Wealth Dynamics, and I am going to be hitting you today with a daily money clip. And I want to answer a question that I got from somebody the other day on my social media on Instagram. They messaged me and they said, Jerry, I would love to hear a video on your viewpoints regarding Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, and kind of the whole digital currency system. So I would love to do that. Now, I want to go ahead and hit this because I've talked about this in several videos before. There's a major difference between investing and speculating. Okay. They're not the same thing. So investing is when I buy something that either produces income or it has intrinsic value. And both of these factors are dictated by track records. I can look at historically and see this asset has performed for this amount of time. For me, I want to see, 5, 10 plus years of performance, sometimes even more. And I want to see that it has actual production. It produces an income, or it has intrinsic value, like real estate would have intrinsic value. Gold would have intrinsic value. Silver would have intrinsic value, right? So those are the things I look for. Now, when I'm investing, I'm buying something because I want to own it. I'm not trying to flip it. I'm not trying to trade it. I'm trying to own it. It's the idea of owning the golden goose. If it's going to be laying golden eggs, I want to own it, and I'm going to keep it forever, because why would I sell something that's paying me? Right? That's investing. Now, speculating is taking something that may or may not have a track record, may or may not have intrinsic value, may or may not produce an income, and buying it at one price with the hopes that another person will buy it from me at a higher price at a later date. And then I'll be able to make a profit in doing so. That's called speculating. Now, speculating is actually a form of self-employment activity. It is the buying of something with the intention to sell it later. No different than flipping a house. Okay. No different than me owning, let's say, a convenience store and buying, wholesale food items and hoping I can sell them at a higher price. Doesn't mean it's bad. It's just not an investment. It takes my time. It takes my energy. It takes my attention, right? Investing means that it's something that I already know is going to make money. I'm buying it and it's going to go up in value or pay me an income regardless. And I don't have to work on it. I don't have to speculate. It doesn't require my time. So those are the two key differences. So on this topic of cryptocurrency, first, I want to go ahead and classify that it is speculation. It is not an investment. Okay, it's a speculative play. Maybe it does well, maybe it doesn't. Now, for me, I don't particularly invest or speculate in it because I don't really look at it as something that I want to have my money in. I don't see an intrinsic value. But if I buy Bitcoin, what do I actually get? Okay, other than Bitcoin, like what is that producing for me? Nothing. You can argue that it gives me privacy, which I could get anywhere. I can get privacy with my gold, right? You could argue that it gives me transferability. I can transfer money either way, right? And there might be enhanced or heightened versions of that with something like a Bitcoin, but for all intents and purposes, it doesn't actually give me anything of tangible value. It gives me an ability to transfer, and I think it would make an excellent transfer mechanism, but I don't think it makes an excellent investment. Okay. Now, here's the problem. The idea of Bitcoin is something that financial institutions and banks have been using for decades. Okay, right now, if you do some research, the Federal Reserve is trying to replace the SWIFT payment system, which is the international transfer system for banks, with a federal banking crypto wallet. Okay, you'll have your own digital wallet. Banks will have their own digital wallets, and they'll transfer money that way. That's something that's already going on. They're just trying to make it something that the Federal Reserve Bank controls now. Here's the issue for me with Bitcoin. I think from a freedom standpoint and a very romanticized standpoint, the idea of it appeals to me. I really like the thought that, we can control our currency and we can get rid of banks and we can get rid of institutions and we can get rid of the Federal Reserve and we can have privacy and they can't control what we do. Now, back to reality. In 1913, our country was sold out to central banks. Okay, the Federal Reserve Banking Act put central banks in charge of our country. President Woodrow Wilson, the one who signed it, literally wrote that he realized he betrayed his country. Okay, these guys were trying to get into our nation for hundreds of years. Okay, and they finally succeeded in 1913. The guys that run and own the central banks, these are the highest of the highest of the highest of the highest elites. This is the financial and political mafia. Okay, they own our currency system. They make interest by loaning our government money. They make interest or they get paid back through our taxation. Okay, and they make when you look at the profits of the Federal Reserve Bank, as an organization, it's the second most profitable company in the United States next to Berkshire Hathaway. Okay, now realize Berkshire Hathaway is like working and doing stuff. The Fed does nothing. They literally print money out of nowhere. So where am I going with this? To think that that organization, okay, the central banking system is going to allow us to take away their power and control, to me is ludicrous. I hate to say it, and I don't mean to be a skeptic, but to think that, like it's like going to like the cartel in Colombia and saying because we invented a piece of technology, they can no longer operate. There's creativity, there's also violence. Okay. So Bitcoin is creativity. Okay. Those people are smarter than the Fed. They're more innovative than the Fed. Okay. They have better probably ethics and morals and ideals and want freedom more than the Fed. But the Fed has violence. They have guns and tanks and soldiers and prisons and systems that if we don't do what they say, we end up being, on the butt end of guns, tanks, soldiers, and prisons. So at the end of all of this, what I think is going to happen with Bitcoin is I think that Bitcoin is probably going to end up getting regulated because, the know your client rules and anti-money laundering. If you just look at the amount of criminal transactions that take place with cryptocurrency, it's enough to warrant the government's attention. So I think what's going to happen is I think that the government's going to try and regulate cryptocurrency. They're going to try and regulate Bitcoin. They're going to realize that they can't. Okay. And then they're going to make it illegal. And the reason I think they're going to make it illegal is because the federal government, as we speak, is coming out with something called FedCoin. Okay, central bank digital currency. It's something that the Federal Reserve Bank will run, a central bank digital currency. It's going to be not the same thing as a cryptocurrency or Bitcoin. It's going to be the federal version of that they're probably going to replace our monetary system with. My, again, speculation is that the next round of stimulus comes out with central bank digital currencies. Okay. Now, if the United States government has a digital currency and then Jerry Fetta produces his own digital currency, I think that's going to be considered counterfeit. No different than right now. If the United States government has US dollars and I try and come out with Jerry Fetta dollars and use those and transact with those, that's counterfeit. Okay, counterfeit, it's a federal crime. I can go to prison. In some countries, it's looked at as a form of treason. So when we boil all of this to its logical conclusion, I think that the only way that the cryptocurrency goes where we think it might go and speculate where it might go is if we're able to overpower a government and a financial system that doesn't want it. And we're not going to overpower them through creativity. Again, it comes down to they have guns and tanks, right? Now, here's the other thing. And again, this is all speculation. This is not based on anything, and that's the nature of the beast. Bitcoin is speculative, okay? Bitcoin came out as a byproduct of the 2008 financial crisis. The 2008 financial crisis was planned. It was caused intentionally by banks, by politicians in our country. Okay, it was not a freak accident that nobody knew about. If you do some research on it, everybody saw this coming. People even shorted it and made billions of dollars knowing it was going to happen because they were going to bet against it. So we caused, our government, our banking system caused a problem. An anonymous solution was invented and just put out there as a solution to this problem that was caused on purpose. Okay, there's something called, I believe it's pronounced Hegelian dialectic. Okay, Hegelian dialectic. And it basically states that if I want to introduce a solution that most people would never accept, I have to introduce first a problem that's big enough and bad enough that the individuals will want the solution they never would have accepted because it would get rid of the problem. So it's almost playing the long game, looking at, I want to introduce this thing all the way down the line in order to get people to accept this, because right now they won't. I have to create a series of events that puts them in a position where they're going to ask for it. Okay, I honestly think maybe that's what Bitcoin is, because we don't know who invented it. It's anonymous, right? So what if it was the Federal Reserve Bank? What if it was the central bank? What if it was these people that want us on a cryptocurrency, that want us on a central bank run or an IMF run or a World Bank run cryptocurrency? So those are all of my speculations and my viewpoints on Bitcoin. That's why I don't own any. If you bought it and the price went up, great. Same thing if you went to Vegas and won a bunch of money, great. I don't know if you're going to be able to do it again. Okay, you don't know any better than I do if it's going to keep going up. That's the problem, is it doesn't have an income that I can base the value off of. It doesn't have a hard value that I can base the value off of. It's based on pure speculation. Okay, pure speculation. and just trading volume. So those are my thoughts on it. I don't own it. If you do, great. Now, one thing I want to introduce at the very end of this is a quote by Warren Buffett. Let me pull it up on my phone here really quick. Okay, so this is a quote by Warren Buffett, and I want to drop this because I know probably what I'm going to see in my comments after this video. It says, if somebody gets mad when you criticize their investment, they're gambling. If somebody criticizes Apple or Berkshire Hathaway, we like it because if the stock goes down, we'll buy more of it. So if you're watching this video and you got mad or offended because you've got all of your money in Bitcoin, or you had your only $5,000 and bought a Bitcoin when it was down at 5,000 and now it's at 16,000, realize emotions, negative emotions within an investment are a reflection, and it's evidence that you're gambling. Okay. If you want to gamble, great, but call it that. It's not investing. Okay. Investing is, again, buying a real asset with intrinsic value or production and owning it because it's a good idea, not because I think it's going to go up in value so I can hopefully sell it to somebody else. And at the end of the day, like, there are plenty of speculations that I could continue on with Bitcoin, that you could continue on with Bitcoin, but that's all they are, is speculations. Your guess is as good as mine. That's all I have for you today. Enjoy this video, like, share, subscribe. I'll see you next time.